You know, the open ocean. It's a world of its own, isn't it? A place of immense power and sometimes deep mystery. For the people who live and work out there, it's just another day on the job. But what happens when, in the middle of all that emptiness, someone just disappears?
This is the question that just hangs in the air over the whole story of the MV Sabrina Fair. How does a crew member, a professional officer, vanish from a massive 650-foot vessel in the middle of the sea? It's a mystery that left a tight-knit crew scrambling for answers, and a search that covered both the ship and the waves themselves.
So picture this. It's May 18th, 2023, 8 in the morning. On the bridge of this huge cargo ship, the chief officer is waiting for his relief. You know, just a standard handover. But the third officer, the guy who's supposed to take over, he's a no-show. The watch is empty.
And that's when things start to feel wrong. The ship's master, the captain, gets on the phone and calls the third officer's cabin directly. The phone rings. Once, twice, 5 times. And then, just silence. Right there, the normal, predictable routine of the ship is shattered, and you can just imagine this feeling of dread starting to spread.
And this is that exact moment. The moment a totally normal day at sea turns into a full-blown emergency. The moment a person becomes a problem to be solved, a name in a logbook.
So 46 minutes after he was supposed to be on the bridge, the call is made. They've tried his cabin, they've checked the mess hall. The master knows this isn't just someone oversleeping. This is a crisis.
Imagine the sound of that general alarm blaring through the steel hallways of the ship. The master's voice cuts through the noise over the PA system, ordering every single crew member to start searching. Every corner of this massive vessel has to be checked. The manhunt is officially on.
And immediately, the search expands. It's not just about looking on the ship anymore. Now the crew is looking for their missing colleague in the vast, unforgiving ocean that stretches out in every direction.
I must be clear, we are talking about a massive ship. This isn't some small boat. The Sabrina Fair is a modern bull carrier, almost 660 feet long. Just searching the ship itself is a huge task, and that's before you even start thinking about the ocean.
So the crew kicks into gear, following a very strict and pretty desperate protocol. First, 3 teams sweep the entire vessel, from the very front to the very back. They find nothing. Then, a man overboard alert gets blasted out over marine radio to any other ships in the area. And then the ship does something critical. It turns completely around to retrace its own path. They do a second, even more detailed search of the whole ship. The result? Still nothing.
Think about that. Almost 9 full hours. 9 hours of searching, of hope just slowly draining away. By 6 p.m., they have to make the call. The search is over. The third officer is gone. And now the question isn't where is he anymore. It's the much harder question, what happened to him? And this is where the real detective work begins. Investigators now have to try and piece together a ghost's last moments. They're digging through logbooks, interviewing the crew, looking for any shred of evidence left behind.
This timeline becomes absolutely crucial. So the evening before, May 17th, everything seems completely normal. He had dinner with the other officers, he had a brief, totally routine chat with the master on the bridge around 10 p.m. Then, at 5 minutes past midnight, he officially hands over the watch to the second officer. And after that, he's gone. He just vanishes from the record.
Yeah, that handover at 5 past midnight, that's it. That is the last confirmed sighting. It's the final, solid fact in a sea of uncertainty.
This is the black box, the mystery, a gap of nearly 8 hours where a man's life just ended, with no one around to see it. How do you even begin to figure that out?
So, investigators had to look at 2 key things: the man and the environment he was in. On one side, you have a 43-year-old experienced officer, a family man who his crewmates said was pleasant and hardworking. No signs of any distress. But on the other side, you have the sea. There was a moderate wind, and the official logbook says the ship was rolling and pitching moderately. That's a key phrase.
After going over every single piece of evidence, from witness statements to the weather logs, the Liberia Maritime Authority reached a conclusion. It wasn't built on absolute certainty because how could it be, but it was built on a careful weighing of all the probabilities.
They figured it wasn't just one thing. It was likely a combination of 3 key factors. First, the ship's cook mentioned the officer had been having a hard time sleeping, which points to fatigue. Second, he was taking some supplements, and a known side effect can be dizziness or tiredness. And third, there's that relentless motion of the sea, that constant, moderate rolling and pitching.
And when you put those three pieces together, you get to the probable cause. The investigation concluded that the most likely scenario was that he slipped and fell overboard from an open deck. His balance could have been compromised by a perfect storm of exhaustion, maybe some side effects from the supplements, and the unpredictable motion of the ship. Just a tragic, unseen accident.
But the story can't just end there. Every tragedy at sea has to be a lesson, right? And this one led to some really important, fleet-wide recommendations to try and stop this from ever happening to someone else.
The company that owns the ship was urged to focus on three critical areas. First, awareness. Train crews to get better at spotting the subtle signs of fatigue and mental illness. Second, policy. Actually develop a formal mental health action plan for all their ships. And third, training. Just reinforce the programs they already have about crew fatigue and wellness. It really shows how one person's awful story can lead to systemic change that protects hundreds of others.
Because, this is about so much more than just the MV Sabrina Fair. It's a powerful reminder of the unique pressures of life at sea, the isolation, the physical toll, and just how critical mental and physical rest really are. These are challenges that over 1 million seafarers deal with every single day.
Which really leaves us with this final thought, doesn't it? The men and women on these ships are the lifeblood of our global economy, but so often their struggles are completely invisible to us back on shore. A story like the one of the Sabrina Fair's third officer really forces us to ask, what more can we be doing to safeguard the people who keep our world moving?